Yassas! Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Is It Greek or Not? You should know how these work by now, and I hope you're enjoying them and learning something about where words come from. Okay, so your first word today is cranium. Cranium obviously being the skull. Is it Greek or not? Well, when we initially look at it, it looks like it's a Latin word and possibly not Greek. However, cranium is very similar to other words that have an eum ending. Not all of them, just some of them, like stadium and museum and odium. Okay, an odium is like a place of music. And by the way, the original spelling of cranium in English, or the one-time spelling, was this here with an E. And what interests us is this eum that we see. This is something that the Romans did use. This is a popular ending in Latin, but it actually is an adaptation of the Greek eon, okay, ending with an N sound. So cranium comes from kranion, stadion for stadium, museon for museum, odeon, which could also be like a music school today. And what's interesting about the word odeon or odium is that in English, the word Odeon survives when we say something like Nickelodeon. Okay, a place where you can get cheap entertainment for a nickel. Okay, so watch out with those eum endings. You should always ask yourselves if they actually come from eon in Greek. Your next word is audio. Audio. Is it Greek or not? This one is not Greek, though it is very similar to akuo, and there might be some connection there, but audio in Latin just means I hear or I listen. That's a very, very strong connection, and anything beyond that, away from Latin, is a little tenuous. So we're going to have to put this into the non-Greek column. And since we talked about audio, let's talk about video. Is it Greek or not? Shockingly, this is Greek. And if anybody there is saying that they knew it, pause here and see if you can get them to explain it. So, video in Latin is pronounced video. That V is actually a W sound or a U. Video, video. And it comes from the Greek word ιδέω, ιδέω. The V is actually represented in Greek with that thing called um, it's called a smooth breathing or a psili. So if we look at it now in Greek, ιδέω, or some people who learn ancient Greek um, at universities and colleges where a different type of pronunciation is learned, they might say this is uideo, oideo. In any event, oideo contracted, it shortened to become ido. That eo became o, that's called a contraction. And then in modern Greek, that ido became tho, like θέλω να δω, I want to see. So even though video in Latin does mean I see, and Latin is cognate with Greek. It's not derivative from it. I'm still going to put this into the Greek box. Your next word is Tiffany. Now, I probably should have put this here with a capital T. There are many girls out there with the name Tiffany, and of course, we all know about the company, the Tiffany lamps, and all the designer products that they make. Is it Greek or not? Yes, interestingly, Tiffany, and don't be fooled by those double F's, as I once was. Tiffany comes from the Greek words theol or theol and phani, theophania, and those of you who are Greek speakers should be noticing should realize where I'm going with this. Theophania, well, Theo is God, and phania is revelation or appearance, and this is actually a synonym for epiphany. Theophania, epiphany, okay, has something to do with a kind of revelation. The double F's are something that evolved from Latin. In Latin, it was PH. So we know that the Romans, because they spelled it with a PH, we know that they had gotten it from Greek. But in French, at one point, the PH became an F. So it's easy to get tricked by this one. But Tiffany, believe it or not, is of Greek origin. So the next time you look at those beautiful lamps, you might not feel so bad about paying so much money for them. Your next word is tea, or in Greek, tsai. Is this a Greek word? It is definitely not. Tea is a Chinese invention. They mastered it thousands of years before any of us had it. And in whatever language you go, in Spanish you'll hear te, in Greek you'll hear tsai, in English you hear tea. They all come from the Chinese che. Finally, we have typhoon, or in Greek, typhonas. Is this Greek or not? There's a lot of disagreement on this one. There is a creature in mythology. In English, we call him the Typhon. In ancient Greek, he's referred to as a few different things. One is Typhon, and Typhon contracts to Typhon. You can see those two vowels in the Greek, Typhon, contracting into one vowel, the omega. And that squiggly line above the omega, the circumflex, or the perispomenon, the perispomeni, that squiggly yellow line represents a vowel that's been gobbled up. So Typhon, Typhon in the mythology, is this creature created by Mother Earth who does battle with Zeus, the god of the heavens. Well, a typhoon or a hurricane could certainly be interpreted as an earth creation that wages war in the sky. Now, to be completely fair, there are people who wonder whether or not this comes from the Chinese typhoon, and we can certainly disagree on it. I personally think this comes to us from Greek. The Romans borrowed it from Greek. They spelled it with a PH, so we know it wasn't their word. And we will leave it there We'll leave a possibility for it to be not be Greek, but I'm going to leave it mostly in the Greek box. One thing we can be sure of is that the Japanese taifu is not the origin of the word, as I recently saw in a spelling bee guide. So if you think it's Chinese, you can put it in the box on the right. If you think it's Greek, as I do, you can put it in the left. And that's it for this episode of Is It Greek or Not? Delos!